So not long ago, I put a comment on the YouTube for Teach Me Cyber, which is run by Jason Robles. Amazing guy, CISO of Corvus Insurance. I've worked with him on incident response before when he was with Mox 5. Dude is, he's amazing. I really respect Jason and would love to work with him in the future. But I made a comment on his YouTube about LastPass, being this really sucks. Being someone who's used LastPass for a long time and with a lot of passwords in there, it sucks that I'm having to go through and change them all now. And there were a ton of because his audience is security pros, a ton of security pros who responded, and hacker types, you're using your full name as your YouTube, and you're already giving me so much information in this post to want to attack you and target you and all this stuff. And so what I've noticed is there's a couple different mindsets in security, and I used to be that mindset. I had no social presence until about a year ago. So I'm new to figuring out Instagram and YouTube and Snapchat and all that stuff. Like Twitter, I'm only in this stuff for about a year. Because I previously was that way. Why did I change? Well, I realized I had to build a brand. Nobody knew who I was. Everyone who I dealt with directly in ransomware incident response knew who I was. But everyone outside of that little circle had no idea who I was. And, I had a lot of people saying to me, you're probably the most talented, recovery guys on incident response. You're probably one of the best system architects and CIOs that we've ever met. As far as security, you're doing amazing architecture and design, and just the way you're thinking about things, Art, is great. When I'm talking to people at work, and customers, partners, whoever, this is the kind of feedback I'm getting. Yet nobody else in the industry knew who I was. So I started to realize that, okay, being Hacker Geek 523 doesn't get me anywhere. It's really, personal branding wise, it doesn't. So, I had to change my mindset and say, okay, everything I post now is going to be, under my actual brand, my actual personal brand. And I had to create profiles and social presences that I never had before. And then there's the vulnerability thing. Okay, so, what's to stop somebody from attacking you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's, I get attacked every day. People try to SMS phish me, email phish me. I hardly ever pick up a phone regardless of who's calling, so voice is pretty safe, but people are trying constantly, and yes, it makes me more of a target. But if I'm not doing that, then I have no upward mobility in my career. So I can be my elite Hacker Geek 53 and don't, and mask everything about me, or I can work on building a personal brand. I can't do both. You can't. And for me right now in my career, the personal brand is more important. It is critical to what I'm doing to have that brand. So yes, it does open me up to some vulnerabilities. So here's another thing too. On posts, to be authentic, that the idea is you should be vulnerable to your audience. So telling people that I used LastPass and I had a lot of passwords in there, so does literally everybody in the world right now. So there's, 4 good password solutions? There's probably 10 total on the market, but there's probably about 4 that are good. Everybody's using one of those. There are some nerds who are using the offline, thing with thumb drive and everything, but everybody else is using a password manager, whether it's Bitwarden, Dashlane, LastPass, 1Password, that kind of thing. So me saying that, to me, is not opening up, isn't giving too much information, that kind of thing. Giving everybody, like, details about my kids, etc., that might be bad, and that kind of exposure is not what I'm trying to do here. But I am trying to build my own personal brand so that people know who I am. So that as I'm growing and getting some upward mobility in my career, people are realizing that, I know what I'm talking about. So that's why I do it. And I'd caution those of you who are going for the super anonymous thing. If you're going to be just a super cybersecurity engineer for the rest of your life, fine. That is perfect. Like, everyone else should be as anonymous as possible on the internet. I agree. But if you're trying to go for like influencer level mobility, you have to build a brand around yourself. And that takes putting yourself out there. So yeah, you can come up with a fake name and do all that kind of stuff, but then, that makes you really, unauthentic also. So, that's just my personal reasoning. So it's a little hard for some people to understand, but it was a debate. I went through it for years. Like, should I make a Facebook? Not going to use it. Should I make a Snapchat? Like, no interest. Should I make these things? Then I'm looking on these sites and about building a personal brand, and everybody's saying to do these things. So I am. It's just part of growing. So, all right. Thanks a lot, everybody.